Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2007 remake of The Hitcher, a film that is directed by Dave Meyers and it stars Sean Bean, Sophia Bush and Zachary Knighton. Now this film is the remake of the classic 1986 film that stars Rutger Hauer and C. Thomas Howell. And this time, rather than just Jim Halsey being on his own travelling cross country, Jim Halsey, played by Zachary Knighton, has his girlfriend in the cast, played by Sophia Bush, Grace. They are taking a trip cross country to meet family, etc. And again, while crossing the desert, they come across Sean Bean's character, who's playing John Ryder. He attempts to kill them. They manage to escape with their lives, and then, as per the first one, he proceeds to make their lives a living hell by committing a series of murders and pinning them on them, which leads to an escalation between the characters. Right. What are my thoughts on this 2007 remake? Well, I'd purposely avoided this film for a long, long time because the first one is a special film to me. It's one of those films I grew up with, and I probably avoided it because I just didn't think it should have been remade. I'm a little bit older now and a little bit wiser, and you know, I can look at it a bit more philosophically, I suppose, and think, well, okay, it probably was ripe for a remake, maybe. Did they do it justice with this film? Not really. But is this film a complete disaster? Again, not really. No, there are aspects of this film that I think are pretty decent, but the vast majority of it, and I think much of it, is down to the fact that, you know, once the story has been told, it is very difficult to recreate it and make it feel fresh and new for any remake, not just this. And whereas I do think the idea to put like two people in the car now, Jim Halsey and his girlfriend, was a decent idea. It was a nice little twist, you know, like to freshen up the idea, two of them travelling cross country together, and it, you know, I didn't mind that, but at the same time, it also doesn't help the film, you know, because in the first film, Jim Halsey is isolated. He feels completely alone, you know, and this John Ryder character, played by Rutger Hauer in that film, psychologically tortures him, you know, for his own entertainment. And this time round, there's two of them. I mean, I know in the first one, Jennifer Jason Leigh turns up near the end and they're together, sort of thing. Whereas it's from the start here, and it just doesn't generate the same kind of tension with two of them in the car. Now let's get on to the elephant in the room. Sean Bean as John Ryder. How does he compare to Rutger Hauer? What do you think? How is anyone going to compare to Rutger Hauer? Now, I don't have a problem with Sean Bean. I think he's a fine actor. I just reviewed recently on this channel that BBC drama he did, Life, I think it was called. And he was incredible, possibly a career-defining performance in that show. Sean Bean has been a staple in Hollywood movies for many, many years. He's played a few villains over the years, and obviously he's got that tag of dying in every film he ever does, which, you know, is quite comical now. But while I do think he does a decent job with this difficult task of trying to follow up in Rutger Hauer's footsteps, it was never, ever going to be comparable to Rutger Hauer's performance, because Rutger Hauer's got such a presence on screen, such an intimidating presence on screen, and especially in the first Hitcher, he played it pitch perfectly. Hauer, you know, he played it very mysteriously, didn't say a lot, didn't need to, and it just looked sometimes an expression on his face, and it just was incredible. The Sean Bean performance is not as imposing on screen. He doesn't feel as imposing on screen. It doesn't feel as menacing. And I just didn't buy the fact that he could do what he was doing, all these things he was doing in the film. So I think his performance fell short. But it wasn't a bad performance, as probably some reviews would make out. So it kind of fails on a lot of levels, this film, and I do think it's a shame. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's very watchable, and sometimes it's verbatim compared to the first one. You know, exactly the same lines, exactly the same scenarios as the first one. It kind of picks and chooses some of the things it wants to literally clone from the first one and put in this one. And then just mysteriously, it doesn't include others. For me, if you're going to do like a remake of the first one, and you're going to show respect to the first one by including a few scenes almost line for line, and then steer off in a whole new direction with other things, it feels unbalanced, this film, compared to the first one. It just doesn't work. It's not as intense. It doesn't feel as violent, although there are a couple of scenes where it shows far more than the first one. And actually, as I said in my review for the original Hitcher recently, if you watch the Hitcher again, that film actually shows remarkably less than you think it does. But it plays around with your mind. You think you've seen a lot more in that film than you actually do. And this film kind of makes the mistake of showing too much compared to that one. So again, it takes away that mystique of the first one, and you just don't feel that connection here with either the Grace character or the Jim Halsey character with the Hitcher. In the first one, there was almost like this real connection between the characters that was just got stronger throughout the film, and there was some mystery there that you just couldn't put your finger on. That was sadly lacking in this sequel. But it is certainly watchable. If you'd never seen the original Hitcher and you watch this one first, you'd probably think, oh, that was okay, that was a decent watch. But it just can't compare to the first one. It really is that simple. But saying that, even though this has been quite a critical review, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It wasn't as bad as I expected. When you go on IMDb and these sort of films get like 1s and 2s out of 10, it's ridiculous, really. You know what I mean? It's not a 1 and 2 out of 10. It's certainly watchable. It's a decent attempt at trying to remake a classic, but it doesn't capture the magic of the original. So that is my review for the 2007 remake of The Hitcher. I hope you liked it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will be back with more content on the channel very, very soon.